All right, welcome. Let it start seated. If anybody else makes their way in, now that we've started, I'll just pop up and let them in. So finding your comfortable seat, letting your sit bones be nice and firmly grounded on your chair, and letting the upper parts of your thighs also be supported. Letting the soles of the feet rest down, also feeling supported, and finding a sense that the spine could lift up a little bit, crown of the head lifting. Nice, tall, proud, but not rigid stance or posture. Giving yourself space to breathe. As we settle in, sometimes it feels nice to have a hand on the chest or a hand on the belly or one on each. It might feel more comfortable just to have your hands resting on your thighs. So as we settle in, deciding what feels right. Taking a few breaths. Noticing the quality of your breath. Noticing the depth, the speed, or the rate. How does the body feel this morning? And as you start to settle into the breath, it might feel good to sway from side to side, forward to back. Just noticing if the weight's evenly distributed, making any adjustments that feel like they might be warranted. And then again, settling into the tall seat. And from here, we can start to think about softening any areas that we don't need in order to keep this nice tall posture. How would it feel to soften the forehead? Or even to soften the crown of the head, if you can imagine softening that part of you. Softening the skin around the eyes and nose, cheeks. Softening the jaw. Letting the back of the neck stay nice and long, and maybe softening the throat any amount. How would it feel to soften the shoulders down? Softening the upper arms and elbows. Letting the hands be supported, the wrists be supported wherever they're resting. Softening the thighs, letting them rest on the chair. And letting your shins feel supported over your ankles, supported by the feet. Just breathing here. Tall spine, softness in the body, spaciousness in the lungs, chest, the upper back. Just breathing. We'll start moving into the neck a little bit. When you're ready, let's start by turning the head from side to side, so keeping the chin parallel with the ground. Inhaling and center. We'll turn the head slowly to one direction. Then inhaling back to center when your inhaler rise. And exhaling in the other direction. Moving with your breath. Inhaling to center and exhaling to one side. Noticing how far it's comfortable for your head to turn. We're not pushing, just noticing. Any areas that are a little stickier than others. When you feel you've done both sides evenly, coming back to center. Pausing in center once you arrive, and noticing any sensations that are kind of coming up as after effects. And then we'll move the head in the up and down position, inhaling in center. As you exhale, tipping the chin down towards the chest. Inhaling to tip the chin up, maybe gazing towards the sky or the top corner of the room. And then exhaling back down, chin towards chest. Moving with your breath. Noticing sensations as you move. Eyes can be open or closed. Then coming back to center as you're ready. Head facing forward. Breathing here for a moment, noticing any sensations from that movement. And then we'll tip one ear towards one shoulder. So we'll tip the head in a diagonal. Head is still facing forward. Chin moving down, or excuse me, ear moving down towards one shoulder. Maybe pausing here for a couple of breaths, noticing a bit of the stretch in the opposite side of the neck. When you're ready, inhaling back up through center. Pausing for a moment. And then when your next exhale arrives, tipping the other direction, other ear towards the other shoulder, head still facing forward. Breathing here, noticing the stretch now on the other side of the neck. One direction might feel different than the other. Then inhaling back up to center. Breathing here in center, noticing sensations in the neck. And let's move into the shoulders a little bit, starting with our shoulder rolls in whichever direction feels natural. And then switching directions, moving the other way. And then releasing the hands down again, releasing the shoulders. We're going to try something with the shoulders that I was practicing with somebody privately and realized that the shoulders work very well together. Whichever direction, they move well together. And when we started to do them separately, one shoulder was more complicated for whatever reason. So let's start with the right shoulder and moving just the right shoulder in a circle. Then letting that one go, releasing. Let's move the left shoulder, same direction, just by itself. Then releasing the left shoulder, coming back to the right. We'll move in the opposite direction. So if you were moving forward or up and back, let's come forward and down. Then releasing that, let's come back to the left, same thing, other direction, whichever we haven't done on this side yet. And releasing. So you may or may not have noticed any difference from sides or directions. We thought it was interesting. Some were just so easy and natural, and when we started to separate the movement, it seemed, for whatever reason, a little more tricky. All right, let's move down into the spine a little bit. Let's start with our twists. So I'll give 3 options this morning. Feet can either stay grounded, both feet on the ground. Feet, backs of the thighs still supported by the chair. Option 2 would be to cross right thigh over left, as though you're crossing your knee, crossing your legs, which is what we're doing. And last option would be to draw the shin up over your knee and coming as far along that leg as feels comfortable, maybe landing with the ankle over the knee, right ankle over left knee. If you come to this third variation, making sure that the right foot is flexed. So pulling the toes towards the shin, which helps to protect the knee. So whichever variation, feet firmly planted, right over left crossed legs, or right ankle over left knee. Inhaling nice and tall. As you exhale, we'll turn shoulders towards the right. So we're moving kind of towards the right leg. The left hand might come to rest on the right thigh. And the right hand might come to land back beside your hip on the chair, or even towards the back of the chair, or be supported by the backrest of the chair. If it feels good for the neck, you could start to turn your head in the direction of your right shoulder. But the head can also stay facing in the same direction as the torso. Unwinding when you're ready, coming back to center. And we'll find a forward fold. So again, whichever variation your legs are, I'll do a second variation here. So if legs are crossed, or the ankle is over the knee, or feet are parallel, inhaling nice and tall. And we'll exhale to bend over the knees any amount. Keeping the chest nice and broad. There might be a little bit of compression if legs are crossed, or legs are parallel with knee between belly and thighs. And if the ankle is over the knee, you might find some stretching in the right hip, taking it gentle. When ready, inhaling back up. Unwinding the legs if they're crossed. Coming back to center and noticing any effects in the body, maybe in the leg or hip or in a side body. And then we'll set up for the other side. Same options. Either feet can be parallel, firmly planted on the ground. This time the left thigh could cross over the right. Or you could draw the shin across the right knee, bringing the left ankle across the left knee, right knee. If your left ankle is over the right knee, flexing the left foot, pulling the toes towards the shins. So whichever variation you've chosen, inhaling nice and tall. And we'll turn shoulders this time towards the left. The right hand might come to rest on the left knee or thigh. And the left hand might come back beside your hip on the chair, or maybe holding the backrest of the chair, or behind you if you have an open backed chair to the back seat. If it feels good for the neck, you could turn the head to look over the left shoulder. The head can also stay in line with the torso, facing the same direction as your body. Unwinding as you're ready, coming back to center. Letting the legs be as they are. Since I did my forward fold in this variation, I'll choose the other variation just for demonstration purposes. Inhaling nice and tall, finding that tall spine, and then hinging forward any amount. Slowly coming back up to your tall seat. Unwinding the legs, releasing both soles of the feet back down to the floor. And let's find our side bending. So for today's side bending, let's take the arms out wide. Imagining that your sit bones are glued down to the chair and will tip like an airplane from one side to the other. So choosing whichever side you like as you exhale, tipping to one side. Keeping the opposite sit bone so heavy, and inhaling back up through center. And exhaling to the other side. Moving with your breath, inhaling through center. Exhaling to one side. Imagining that you could reach away from your sit bone. One more time each side, and then landing back in center as you're ready. Releasing the hands, noticing any sensations in the side body. And then we'll move on to our cat-cow variation. I'll turn sideways for demonstration purposes. Setting yourself up in the tall seat. Finding a neutral spine, so shoulders are quite relaxed, crown of the head is lifted, back of the neck is long. Chest and upper back are nice and broad. Letting the hands rest either on the thighs or the knees. We'll start with an inhale in neutral. With your next exhale, pushing the thighs and knees away so that the shoulder blades might start to spread apart and pulling the belly back towards the back of the chair. As you inhale, drawing the belly and chest forward, and maybe the gaze will lift. As the exhale arrives again, coming back to that Halloween cat shape, rounded spine. And with your inhale, drawing the body forward, belly and chest come through the upper arms to cow pose. Moving through a couple more rounds with your own breath. And eventually making your way back to your neutral spine. Coming back to your tall seat. Noticing any effects in the spine and the body. Then let's come back up to the arms for a little bit. Since we're moving into the spine, we can actually use our arms to initiate some upper back movement as well. So starting in your tall seat as usual, letting the hands rest down. Let's bring the left hand across the ribs so that you can feel you're kind of holding or resting your arm along the lowest ribs. When your next inhale arrives, let's sweep the right arm up and overhead. Continuing to breathe. From here, how would it feel to reach the arm back behind you? And how do your ribs react? Do they start to poke out? So keeping an idea of keeping the ribs contained even while reaching the arm up and back, maybe reaching even behind your head a little bit if it feels okay for the shoulder. Releasing the right arm down as you're ready. Releasing the left hand from the ribs. And we'll move to the other side. The left hand rests along your bottom ribs. We'll sweep left arm up and overhead. Noticing your ribs with the right arm. How would it feel to reach the left arm back behind your head if it feels okay for the shoulders, stretching into the upper back. Containing the ribs, noticing if they want to flare out. And then releasing left hand back down. Releasing right hand from the ribs. And then we'll move with breath. So if you would like to bring the opposite arm to your ribs each time, that's an option. If you found that your ribs want to flare out, it just brings some kind of tactical awareness there. So as you're ready, starting in your tall seat, we'll start with the right hand, inhaling the arm up and back, reaching back behind, and then exhaling it back down as you're ready. Inhaling left arm up and back, reaching back behind your head, and exhaling it back down. If it feels okay to continue and your shoulder feels okay, we'll do about 2 more on each side. Moving with your breath. Last round if it feels okay. And releasing both hands back down to your lap. Noticing any effects in the shoulders, maybe in the upper back. Just noticing what comes up wherever you're feeling it. We'll do one more shoulder blade or upper back exercise. We'll start with the arms facing forward, palms reaching towards the floor. So arms are about parallel with the floor. With your inhale, we'll draw the right elbow back, pulling the shoulder blade in towards the center. And then exhaling to reach the right arm forward again. Left side, inhaling to draw the elbow back. Exhaling to reach the arm forward. Moving with breath about twice more. Inhaling, right arm back, elbow back. Reaching forward on the exhale. Left elbow draws back, inhale. Exhaling forward. Last one. Inhaling to draw the elbow back. Exhaling forward. Left elbow back, inhale. And exhaling forward. Releasing the hands again. Giving yourself the time and space to notice any sensations that are going on. And let's move down into the legs a little bit. Shifting your weight forward so that you're still supported, but that you have a little more space to move. Let's start by holding the edges of your chair, widening the feet a little bit, and we'll shift the knees from one side to another. Finding a little bit of gentle rotation in the thighs, the femurs. Kind of a windshield wiper action. And coming back to center when you're ready. Bringing your feet a little closer together so they're in your more neutral, usual position. And let's draw the right thigh up towards us, either holding underneath the thigh, around the shin, or around the knee. Let's start just by moving the right leg out to the right a few times, almost like you're opening a gate. Then coming back to center as you're ready. We'll move into the ankle, drawing some ankle circles. Switching directions as you're ready. Pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And then let's draw a couple of hip circles with the knee, or a couple of big circles, just twice in each direction or so, if that feels okay. And then releasing the right foot back down to the floor. Noticing sensations in the right leg compared to the left, giving yourself that time to notice. And then drawing left knee up towards you, holding underneath the left thigh or around the shin or knee. And we'll start by drawing the left knee out to the left. A few times. Externally rotating the femur in the hip socket. Then coming back to center as you're ready. And we'll move the ankle in some circles, left side. Switching directions as you're ready. Pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And then we'll find our hip circles, twice in each direction. As big or small a circle as feels good. Then releasing left foot down to the floor. Let's move through our sun salutations. So you can stay close to the edge of your chair as long as the sit bones are still nice and supported. And knowing our sequence brings us through to a forward fold, deciding what feels good, what distance for your legs feels good. Does it feel good to have some compression between belly and thighs with the forward fold? Or would it feel better to have some space for the torso to come through? And if you always choose one variation, maybe choosing the other just to play, giving yourself the space to explore. And we'll do 3 of them so you can change it up as we move through. In terms of arms, we could go down and wide. We could go sort of parallel with the shoulders wide. We could reach arms up and overhead. We could find cactus arms. So choosing your variation, where do you want your arms to head for this first sun salutation? Having your arm position in mind. And then as you're ready with an inhale, sweeping the arms wherever they're headed. Exhaling to bring the hands back down to your thighs. Inhaling to draw the chest and belly forward, coming into cow pose. Exhaling to round the spine, Halloween cat shape, shoulder blades spread apart. Inhaling back to a tall and neutral spine. And as you exhale, folding forward, the forearms might come to thighs, fingertips might trace the shins, or the hands might come to the floor. Inhaling to sweep the right arm up into a twist. Exhaling the right arm back down. Inhaling left arm, sweeping up into a twist. Exhaling the left arm back down. Inhaling both arms wherever you want them to head, coming back to a tall seat. And exhaling hands to thighs. Taking an in-between breath. Changing anything in your position that feels like might feel nice before we move through the next one. Adjusting legs if that would feel good. And again, deciding where your arms are headed this time around. As you're ready, sweeping the arms wherever they're headed, inhale. Exhaling arms back down to thighs. Inhaling, arching the back, cow pose. Exhaling to round the back, Halloween cat. Inhaling back up to a tall spine. And exhaling to fold forward. Forearms might come to thighs, maybe the fingertips trace the shins or the hands come to the floor. Inhaling to sweep right arm up into a twist. Exhaling the right arm back down. Inhaling, left arm sweeps up into a twist. Exhale, left arm comes back down. With your inhale, sweeping arms wherever they're headed, coming back to a tall seat. And exhaling, hands to thighs. Taking this in-between breath. Noticing sensations before we move through our last sun salutation. Adjusting feet to your preferred position for our last one. Deciding where your arms are headed. And with an inhale, sweeping the arms. Exhaling, hands to thighs. Inhaling to cow pose, chest and belly forward, gaze lifts. Exhaling to round the spine, chin to chest. Inhaling back to a neutral spine. And exhaling to fold, forearms to thighs, fingertips to shins, or hands to floor, fingertips to floor. Inhaling, right arm sweeps up. Exhaling, right arm back down. Left arm sweeps up into a twist with an inhale. Exhaling, left arm comes down. Inhaling to bring yourself back to a tall seat, arms sweep wherever they're headed. And exhaling, hands to thighs. Beautiful. Let's come up to standing through our chair pose, strengthening the legs as we go, bringing the heels in towards your chair. Starting to shift your weight into your heels. Maybe hands come to prayer or hands to hips as you start to lift yourself off the chair to a hover. Breathing here. And then coming all the way to standing as you're ready. Let's come to face the backrest of the chair. And let's start off by finding a chair version of downward dog. So letting the hands or wrists rest on the backrest of the chair, walking the feet back, letting the feet be as wide as feels comfortable, or they can be about hip width distance, reaching the tailbone in one direction and the crown of the head in the other. Knees can be bent, fingertips reaching away. Breathing here. Lots of length in the spine. Lots of strength in the legs. And then let's walk back towards the chair, coming back to standing. And we'll play with our arm movements a little bit more. The same ones that we practiced earlier, where we're reaching kind of up and back. And we'll bring the legs into the mix. So since we've practiced the arm movements already, let's start with the legs. So finding yourself in a strong stance, feet about hip width distance or a little wider, whatever feels right for you. And then let's step the right toes back so that maybe you're just on the tips of your toes, or maybe the toes are tucked a little bit. And noticing how this feels. We're looking for a little bit of a stretch in the front of the right hip. So you might think about sending the tailbone down towards the floor. It might be fun to play with lifting that back toe. Maybe you could bounce it up. Maybe you could lift it just a little bit, or maybe the toes stay on the floor. Maybe the bounce is crazy talk. Giving yourself permission to play, see where it goes. It might also help if you have access to your right buttock to use the bum to push the right hip forward any amount. You might find a little bit of stretch along the front of the hip. Let's stay for one more breath. And then release the right foot, coming back to standing. Finding any counter movement that feels warranted. And we'll set up on the other side. This time stepping the left toes back. Maybe just coming up onto the tips of the toes, or the toes might be tucked. Keeping the spine in a fairly neutral position. So chest is still nice and broad, just like if we're in a tall seat. Maybe thinking about sending the tailbone down towards the floor. And then giving yourself that space to play. How would it feel to lift the back toes? There might need to be some adjustment of posture to get it to play with you. How would it feel to use the left side of your bum, your left buttock, to push the left hip forward any amount? Breathing here for another breath. And then releasing, stepping the left foot forward again. Finding any movements again that just feel warranted, a little counter movement, counter balance. Okay, and now we'll add in both leg and arm. So let's start with stepping the left, we'll come back to the right side. Stepping the right foot back, coming up onto the toes. Finding those actions, maybe sending the tailbone down towards the floor, activating the right glute to push the hip forward any amount. And then from here, how would it feel to reach right arm up and back, almost reaching back behind your head? If this doesn't feel good for your shoulder, we could find that other action where the elbow is reaching back instead. So choosing your variation. Breathing wherever you are, whichever variation. Let's stay for 2 more breaths if it feels okay to stay. And then releasing both the right hand and the right leg. Coming back to standing. And we'll move over to the left side as you're ready. Stepping left toes back. Finding the actions in the lower body first. Maybe sending tailbone down towards the floor, activating the left glute, using the left side of your bum to push the left hip forward a little bit. And then from here, how would it feel to reach left arm up and overhead and reaching back behind you? Again, options for the shoulder. If this doesn't feel good and doesn't work for you, we could find the option of pulling the elbow back behind you with the forearm and palm parallel to the floor. There's more of a front body stretch if you have access to reaching up and overhead, but choosing the variation that works for your body. Breathing for another 2 cycles of breath if it feels okay to stay here. And then releasing left hand, releasing left foot, coming back to standing. Last time, and this time we'll add in a little bit of balance. Meaning we'll try and lift the toes. So stepping the right foot back again. Maybe not being so concerned this time about the form. We'll reach right arm up and back. And then how would it feel? You might have to shift your weight a little further forward onto your left foot. How would it feel to lift or bounce the right toe up? Maybe there's just an intention of lifting it and the toe doesn't actually leave the floor. Stretching into the right side of the front body. And then releasing right hand, releasing right leg. Finding any movement, counterbalance, wiggle. And we'll find our final side, left side. Starting by reaching left toes back, coming up maybe onto the tip of the toes if that feels okay. Reaching left arm up and back. I forgot to mention the shoulder option on the other side. So if that doesn't work for your shoulder, finding that elbow bend, reaching the elbow back behind you. And then maybe shifting the weight a little more into the right foot. Maybe the left foot could lift any amount, just bouncing the toe off the ground. How would it feel to play? Maybe just the intention of movement is there and it doesn't actually leave the ground. And then releasing left hand, releasing left leg, coming back to both feet. Pausing for a moment, both feet on the ground, nice tall spine. And then we'll move back into our chair version of downward dog, letting the hands be supported, walking the feet back. Maybe bending into the knees, reaching the tailbone in one direction and the crown of the head in the other. Finding lots of length in the spine. As you're ready, coming back to standing, walking back towards the chair. Let's find a brief balance that doesn't involve reaching backwards. We'll give some options here. So letting your hand be supported on the chair, it doesn't matter which side. Let's bring our weight into the left foot so that the right foot can start to get light. Let's bring the knee up towards us, just bending into the knee. Either staying here, or if it would feel okay, how would it feel to cross the ankle over the knee of the standing leg? Maybe that's crazy. Maybe it's shin, maybe it's closer to the ankle. Letting yourself play a little bit. Then when you find your perfect position, how would it feel just to briefly let go of the chair or your support? Breathing, remembering to breathe. We all hold our breath when we balance. Beautiful. Then slowly unwinding the leg, Maybe bringing the knee forward once more and then releasing back to the ground. Beautiful. Both feet feel firmly grounded. We're nice, tall, strong bodies and people. And we'll move to the other side. So if you want to use the same hand for balance, that's okay. Or we can switch the direction, either of our orientation of the chair or moving the chair itself. Shifting weight into the right foot, and left foot starts to get light. Bringing the knee up towards you any amount. We might stay here. This might be the balance. How would it feel to cross the ankle? We'll start low this time, over the other ankle or shin, maybe across the knee. If you're up as high as the knee, letting the left foot be flexed. Finding your position. And then deciding, how would it feel to play with letting the support of the chair go, even briefly. Remembering to breathe. It's just yoga, it's just balance. And then as you're ready, we'll slowly bring the knee forward once more. Be lifting it once more. And then releasing left foot back to the ground. Beautiful. Any counterbalance that would feel good. While we're standing, let's take a standing side bend. So reaching, if it feels okay for shoulders, reaching arms up and overhead. If it feels better to have arms parallel to the ground, we could do cactus arms. As you exhale, reaching over to one side. Inhaling back through center. Exhaling to the other side. Back up through center on the inhale. And releasing the arms. If there's any last movement that would feel good before we make our way to seated, honoring your body, letting your, giving yourself that space to make any last movements before we come to resting. As you're ready, making your way to seated. No rush to get here. And finding that nice tall spine again. Letting the shoulders be soft. Letting the gaze be soft or the eyes be closed. Coming back to the awareness of your breath. Noticing if it's any different from the beginning of class. Noticing the speed. Noticing if it's deep or shallow. Noticing if it's faster or slower. No need to judge, just observing. Let's end practice today with a loving kindness meditation. So hands can either stay exactly where they are. They could come to rest over your heart, or hands could come to Anjali Mudra or universal prayer position, wherever you're comfortable. Sending the loving kindness to ourselves, first of all. You can repeat silently after me if you like. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I live my life with grace and ease. Next, let's bring to mind somebody for whom you have much gratitude, somebody you love very much. With this loved person in mind, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with grace and ease. Next, bringing to mind somebody you don't know very well, a neutral person, So somebody you haven't formed an opinion about, no good or bad thoughts. Probably could be somebody at the grocery store, a neighbor. With that person in mind, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with grace and ease. Next, bringing to mind somebody with whom you have an argument or you're annoyed at, maybe somebody you're angry with. And with this person in mind, may you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live your life with grace and ease. And lastly, we send wishes out to all sentient beings. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be happy. May all beings live their lives with grace and ease. Peace. Thank you so much for joining me today. I've gone over by about 2 minutes. If anyone needs to rush off, I'll stop the recording.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Alina.
So glad.
Thank you very much.